Hey everybody, DJ from Pro Action Suspension here. Want to come to you a little bit today. We're here in beautiful Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, just outside of the shop here, just right down the road a little bit. I want to go over with you a little bit the new 2026 Harley-Davidson Tri Glide. I know everybody's used to the standard Tri Glide, the 25s, 24s and back. We all know what they did. We know what they were about. So I want to come in here first. I'll give you a little guide of what we did when this was stock before we changed anything. Then we moved into the forks. We did the forks, then we progressed from the forks to the back suspension. So we'll cover everything here as we go. As I said, everybody, you're kind of used to the 25 models and down. That was a solid axle suspension. So what happens on those, when you hit a hole with the right wheel, it moves the left wheel. Hit a hole with the left wheel, moves the right wheel. Come into corner, starts to lean, everything kind of leans the same way. So Harley-Davidson decided they were going to come out with an all-new revamped suspension for the rear. They were teasing us with independent suspension, but it's really not independent. It's more of a wishbone style, but it's still quite an improvement over last year's. So what we did was riding it stock. We rode it for a while. Change the spring settings, little knob on the side where you change your settings. 175, 180 pound rider. We come in right about 20, 25, it's right between 20 and 25. So figure about 23, 24 on the spring setting. That was enough to get the back end up, to put a little more weight on the front end, kind of give it a little better balance. And honestly, it rode quite a bit better than last year's bike, just with the stock upgrade. So it was pretty nice. Still a lot, it was kind of busy. The front end pushed real hard. You come into the corner, you got to turn real hard coming into the corner. The front end would kind of roll out on you, almost like you had a big sidewall. You kind of feel the front end pushing out on you. And the back was a little bit busy, kind of side to side, just still a little bit busy. So what we did there, so like I said, we brought the rear spring up right about 20, 25 in between there. That put enough weight on the front end that kind of helped with a little bit of the twitch of the busyness of the front. Still had the push in it. The back was way better than last year, but still wasn't that great. Like I said, overall performance improvement from last year, but still not quite as good as you would expect it to be. So where we started with the front end with the forks. That was because the rear end's all new, so we had to start from scratch there. The forks are a similar version from last year, from the several years before. So we took our fork kits from last year, the year before, gave them a little update, gave them a little tweak, gave them a little spring change, and rebuilt the front end, got the front end working real good. So what happened there, once we did the front end, that took a lot of that push out. When you're coming into the corner, instead of wanting to push out on you slide to the outside, it actually put a little more pressure down onto the front wheel and, you know, kind of let it kind of get a little more traction as it was coming around the corner for you. So that helped a lot with the front. It did help too with the balance of the bike. It made the rear feel a little bit better, just because you weren't getting the hard hit from the front and trying to transfer everything to the rear like it did when it was stock. So we did the forks, and that made a tremendous difference, actually front and rear. At that point, I honestly went in and I looked at George and I said, hey, I said, just doing the front, I said, made the back feel so good. I said, that might be all we need. And we just kind of laughed a little bit, and then we started working with the rear. So compared to last year's shocks come stock were 13-inch. This year they come stock is more towards 14 and a half. So we made a 14.5-inch shock for the rear. We bumped the spring rate up from about stock. It tested out about a 180, 190. We bumped it up to about a 200-pound spring for about 180, 200-pound rider, 225-pound rider, right in that area. So we'll have actually that spring and a heavier spring if needed. And we rebuilt the shocks, changed the valving, put in our 3-stage valving, and then it was time for a test ride. So at that point, jumped on, went out for a little cruise, immediately felt a difference. Noticeably in the front. The rear, bringing the back end up, put a little more weight on the front. Really coming into the corners, it didn't roll, it didn't push. There's no noise when you hit something. You hit a little sharp edge bump or something, it took away that little bit of clang that it had there stock, and works real nice. Now in the back, what you feel there, before I said it was a little bit busy. It just kind of side to side a little bit, just kind of a little bit choppy feeling. It wasn't horrible, but you knew it was there. Coming into the corners, you know, kind of had a little bit of a lean to it. You know, wasn't quite as stable in the corners as I would have liked it to have been. So once we upgraded the shocks, the first round we put them on there, immediately helped the front end, helped the back end, took away the busyness, cornered real nice, come into corner, it was actually stays real nice and level, was, you know, a very nice balance, took the bumps away, and was actually what we thought at that point was really good. So we pulled her back in the shop, and of course you can't just go with your first time, you got to try something else. So at that point we went in, worked the valving a little bit, a little lighter 3-stage valving than what we had the first time. Put a little bit more into the spring, another turn into the spring, and that helped quite a bit. Surprisingly, it made it even better than it was, you know. So that took away even more of the busyness, gave it a little more settled feeling. Now when you come out, when you roll out onto the road, when you roll on the throttle, instead of it just kind of taking off on you, you can feel the back end will squat a little bit real nice for you. You can feel the traction. It takes off real nice. Coming into the corner, it's nice and flat. You can get a good feel coming into the corner. The front end steers well. It's very smooth. It takes away the bumps. You don't feel the little bumps. You don't feel the busyness. You don't feel the vibration or the aggregate in the road. And the deeper into the travel you get now, the stiffer it gets. So as you're coming in, you start riding a little more aggressive. You come into the corner, start rolling it on. It'll adjust the back end, bring you around real nice, dig in when you come out of the corner. So basically, to sum everything up, the front and the rear together made quite a difference. Actually, you know, about 100% difference as far as changing everything. It actually makes this Tri-Glide or this SG3 ride the way it should. It handles real nice, comes into the corners, you can rail the corners, you can just cruise along, not feel any of the bumps, you feel confident, you feel centered, you feel balanced, and if you throw a passenger on the back, the way everything's built, there's really just not a whole lot of adjustment you have to do unless it's an extreme change. So you can passenger on and off, works very well. The spring setup works well. We have 2 different setups, like I said before. So if you have a new Tri-Glide and you're thrilled to death on how it rides over your 2025, you should be. But if you really want to make a difference, you really want to feel it handle, you really want to take the bumps away, you really want to make this bike the best it can be, Pro Action Fork Kit, Pro Action 14.5-inch shocks with 4 inches of shaft travel. In total, that gives you about right about the whole setup with the back, with the wishbones, right about 5 inches of travel in the rear end, which is quite a bit over last year. So that combination makes this bike a complete setup.